You're listening to the 49 Carats Podcast, a 49ers Goldmine production with Stephanie Sanchez.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another edition of the 49 Carats Podcast. I'm your host, Steph, doing this episode solo dolo. I'm also at the airport, so that's interesting. And I hope it's not too loud here. I really do. I try to find like the quietest corner. I'm not even at my gate right now, so I hope it's quiet, and I hope you guys can hear me, because a lot of exciting updates from today, the press conference. So the 49ers reported to training camp starting today. The actual practices start tomorrow. So we got a lot of good updates from the team. First, let's start with some injury updates. So Kalia Davis, he is on the NFI list, which is expected. I mean, he's coming from an ACL injury that he suffered last fall. So that was always the expectation that he would redshirt this year. So no surprises there. Then we have Charlie Warner and Jason Veret, both put on the PUP list to start. And that's it. Like that, to me, that's okay. I mean, Veret is also someone we kind of expected, right? Because, you know, he's still recovering from his ACL. Charlie Warner is a bit of a surprise. He has a core muscle surgery, I guess, that he was recovering from. So that's the one surprising news, I guess, from that. But the best part about the presser today was obviously the biggest bit of confirmation that we have ever gotten in terms of this is now Trey Lance's team, right? So Kyle Shanahan said he, John Lynch, and Jimmy Garoppolo spoke this morning, and everyone is on the same page. We have moved on to Trey. Kyle was not messing around in this presser today. He was not messing around. He did not mince any words. He did not leave any room for interpretation. It was, this is Trey's team. And as we kind of figured, Jimmy Garoppolo is not going to be practicing with the team. He was going to report today to do his physical, but beyond that, he's not going to be practicing in any of the training camp practices. That's not a surprise to anyone. And Shanahan said that he expected the physicals to go well today. And of course, if that physical clears him, then that's the green light for any trade to take place. And I think Kyle Shanahan made it clear that they're still very much trying to deal him. What's going on, 49er media? What's going on, Dawson? So this is very, like Dawson said, it's refreshing to hear it from Kyle Shanahan rather than someone else, because like I said, this is the most definitive, I guess, statement that we've ever gotten from, either Kyle Shanahan or John Lynch, that this is Trey Lance's team now. So it's very refreshing. It's very good to hear. Like, we've been waiting for this moment for so long, I feel like, and it's finally here. It's finally real. Now the question becomes, what does happen to Jimmy Garoppolo, right? Because as I mentioned, he got cleared. Presumably he got cleared with his physical today, which would green light any trade. So they're still trying to trade him. But, I mean, there's one side of it where it's like, okay, the team has openly said that they're going to move on from him. And so I still think teams are like kind of waiting to see if they just release him. Kyle Shanahan did say that, they would like to hold on to him instead of like just giving him away, which I totally get. And you've already waited this long, so what's a little while longer, right? As long as everyone on the team and everyone in the media knows that Trey Lance is the guy, right? So, whether Jimmy Garoppolo gets released, if a trade doesn't happen, that's, to me, is still debatable. I know what Kyle Shanahan said today, that, they wouldn't just give him away, but at the same time, I mean, there's so many other things that can go wrong just by having like Jimmy Garoppolo on the team and just so much unnecessary distraction. I think that to me, I think Kyle Shanahan just kind of left that door open just for the sake of keeping trade suitors interested, right? I hope you guys can hear me okay. I hope it's not too loud here. If it is too loud, please let me know in the comments. And I'll try to find a quieter spot. Brandon, is today just preliminary stuff as far as training camp goes? Yeah, so pretty much today, players were checking in. They all reported today, but there were no practices today. It's really just going through, physicals and maybe some team meetings, but it was just to get the group of guys together for the first time in, I don't know, what feels like a month at least. So tomorrow is the big day where there are going to be some actual practices, some actual football that we can talk about. And I will be there. I'm so excited to, talk all about it. And there's a few things that I'm going to be keeping an eye on. One of the things I was going to keep an eye on was Deebo Samuel, whether or not he was going to report. He did report today, but again, like that's, as you mentioned, Brandon, it's a preliminary day. It's just physicals. Will he actually participate is the bigger question. Will he have an extension by tomorrow morning is the bigger question. I would lean towards both of those answers being no at this very moment, but I still think there's a lot of optimism surrounding Deebo Samuel. Of course, like the comments from Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch today gave me even more hope on that front. And again, like he did report for training camp today, so he will be at most like on the sidelines tomorrow, which I think is a great thing that he's still around. So hopefully his contract extension gets sorted out, sooner than later. John Lynch said, I don't want to get everyone all excited that something is imminent. But he also said they've had a number of productive talks. I like the sound of that. I like productive talks. And the fact that they're in the same building together, they're going to be around each other, it makes it easier to just hash out any, remaining kinks in this contract extension that they still need to work out. And so that's another reason to feel good and to feel like this is going to happen soon. I haven't heard anything that would make me feel like this wouldn't happen soon. Again, John Lynch said, we're not there yet. Something is going to happen here in the near future. In the near future. Interesting. I like the sound of that. So yeah, Dawson, yeah, they got to like the end of August to trade Jimmy. I think so. Yeah, this could go forever. Yeah, it gets interesting towards, I think the 30th of August or something like that is when his contract becomes guaranteed. So I would think we would know a little bit before that whether or not he's going to be hanging around on the roster. Because if so, I feel like they'd have to restructure his contract maybe. I don't know. Or they're comfortable keeping him as a backup at $25 million until someone trades for him. I have no idea. While we're on the topic of contract extensions, yeah, let's talk about the comments made about Nick Bosa. Well, John Lynch said that it is likely that his contract will be addressed next year, which was expected. Like they've been busy with Deebo Samuel's contract this offseason, pretty much all offseason. So that's no surprise. And Bosa still had an additional year on his contract. So having or addressing that extension next year made a ton of sense. So no surprises there. One of the biggest things that was said about Nick Bosa, and I'm trying to find the screenshot. I might have retweeted it. I think he said something like he's going to be a 49er for, as long as we're here. John Lynch said this. As long as we're here, Nick Bosa is going to be a part of the 49ers, and he's going to be paid handsomely to do so. I love that. I love that so much because, like when this regime first started, Kyle Shanahan, John Lynch, they had the brick by brick slogan, right? And I firmly believe Nick Bosa is one of the biggest bricks of their tenure here, and keeping him around is very important. So I love the sound of that, and I believe them when they say it. So I feel really good. All right, let's see. What else? What else? Yeah, Luke, you're so right. They don't do deals until you got a year left, and he has 2 years right now. Exactly. So they're gonna wait until next year when he has 1 year left, which is a great time to do it. I feel like it's a comfortable time to do it because you know exactly what you're working with in terms of like the player. You feel comfortable with that player enough to to, to make the decision whether or not to pay him. Um, and then also it just gives you that extra leeway of having that 1 year that they still have to um, be able to work out a contract. Nick Bosa's contract is going to be crazy. It's going to be like otherworldly, something we've never seen before. So I just want to prepare you guys all for that in case you didn't know already or figure. It's gonna be like, oh, that's a lot, but at the same time, it's like, but it's Nick Bosa though, so we'll feel good about it eventually, I think. Um, Brandon says structurally, Debo's contract dictates what the structure of Bosa's is going to be, presumably. Somewhat, yeah. I mean, definitely. There's going to be a lot of money allocated to those two players, so I think that makes a lot of sense, Brandon. And definitely, I think the one thing that a lot of people have been throwing around about Nick Bosa's contract is that it'll be fully guaranteed. It'll be interesting if that ends up happening. I wonder. But yeah, I mean, yeah, but Bosa's going to get that MLB contract. Damn near. Speaking of MLB contracts, it just reminds me of Kyler Murray and his very awkward contract clause that he has to watch film for 4 hours a week. 4 hours doesn't even feel like that much if you're like a quarterback of the starting quarterback of an NFL team. I know guys on, 49ers Twitter that probably watch that much film in a week and they just do it for fun. Like, I feel like if you're a quarterback in the NFL, you should want to watch some film, right? Anyway, I digress. Another update that we got was for D Ford. John Lynch said that D Ford did not show up to training camp today. We mentioned today was the reporting day, so no practices. It was just to report, get a roll call of everyone, make sure everyone's in the building. D Ford, however, was not there. And John Lynch also said, I think you guys will see a transaction in the next couple of days. And I'll leave it at that, which, to me sounds like a release is going to be happening in the next few days, then the next week, which makes sense actually because the 49ers also announced that they signed Robert Kimdichie. Shout out to Brad again, by the way, for having that scoop before the 49ers even announced it themselves. Like, no one else had that, only Brad. So shout out to Brad. But I think that signing says a lot about, D Ford not being on the roster. They had to fill in that spot. So, yeah, they got someone right away. They didn't waste any time there. Let's see. The other update was Daniel Brunskill would be getting reps at both center and right guard. That is such a big question mark. Like, that's the biggest question on everyone's minds going into training camp is what is going to happen with right guard and center. And so I know I'll be paying a lot of attention to that throughout these next 2 weeks. So Kyle Shanahan said he expects some competition between Daniel Brunskill and Jake Brendel. I think both of those guys are going to have a shot at it, and we'll see who comes up the victor in that scenario. Yeah, Kyler has to do homework before he plays outside. Yeah, Kyler has a lot of work to do, seriously. What's going on, Ryan? Thank you. I will enjoy training camp. I'm very excited. Brandon asks, I wonder what Jimmy's trade value looks like at this point. Has it increased? Can you guys hear me? Because there's like an announcement going on. Let me just mute myself for like. Okay, he's done. Brandon asks, I wonder what Jimmy's trade value looks like at this point. Has it increased, or are teams not as desperate now that the draft has come and gone? Great question. I mean, this has been, the thought on all of our minds for the majority of the offseason, right? Like, I don't think Jimmy Garoppolo has much of a market right at this moment. I don't think it has increased right now, but I think there's a potential for his trade market to increase. You know, anything can happen in training camp. Training camp is a time where injuries happen. Preseason is a time where injuries happen. You never hope that for a player, right? But should another starting quarterback get hurt on another team, sorry for the loud noises behind me. Okay. Yeah, so I think, if another quarterback gets hurt from another team, then that immediately opens up a huge, need for a quarterback, say Jimmy Garoppolo, perhaps. He's immediately like the best quarterback that is on the market right now. So, yeah, I mean, the 49ers are kind of banking on, I guess, another starting quarterback to get hurt between now and August, maybe even after that. Like, Kyle Shanahan said that they're not just going to give Jimmy Garoppolo away, so it's very possible that they hang on to him until a need opens up. Because again, if and when a need opens up, Jimmy Garoppolo becomes like the top guy. The issue with what happened this offseason is that there were so many. There was like a QB carousel, and every time it seemed like there was just another quarterback that would come in to the carousel and be above Jimmy Garoppolo. Not always so much because of their play, but also their contract situation. Say Baker Mayfield, for example. So it's just been such poor timing, I guess, for all of this. But I think if and when a starting quarterback does get hurt, Jimmy Garoppolo becomes the number one option for that team. So we'll see if it works out for them. Yeah, Ryan, thanks for confirming that you can hear me. I'm glad, because I try to find a quiet corner over here. But going back to the right guard and center position, yeah, it's going to be a bit of a lot of musical chairs and seeing who comes out the strongest in each of those positions. I'll tell you what I think. I mean, I think Jake Brendel is probably they probably favor him to be the center. And I only say that because I think they would like Daniel Brunskill to go back to right guard, which is his, natural position, what he's played before. But again, they're going to give him, Brunskill being, the opportunity to compete at center as well. So we'll see how that all shakes out. Again, I mean, that's one of the biggest competitions heading into camp, and it'll be an interesting one that will probably last the entire 2 weeks, right? Guys, if you guys are watching, make sure to subscribe and follow me on Twitter if you don't already, at Stragasaurus, because I will be posting all of the training camp updates there on my Twitter account. And of course, I'll be posting videos after every practice right here on this YouTube channel. So please make sure to subscribe. All right, and like and comment and share, of course. Brandon says, to Jimmy's credit, he is the quintessential game manager for a team that's developing a young quarterback. He's really limited in making certain throws, but he is efficient with the mid-range timing routes. Absolutely. I mean, Jimmy Garoppolo he's not a bum. Like, he's really like middle of the pack quarterback, and you said it. He's a game manager. On some days, on his good days, he's even better than that. So yeah, like he could immediately fill a need for a team. And I think the perfect situation for Jimmy Garoppolo would be as a bridge quarterback. And we've talked about this before. Like, I think that's probably what he is going to end up being the rest of his career. I think we've seen Jimmy Garoppolo's ceiling with Kyle Shanahan, and it's good, you know. But for another team who doesn't have a Kyle Shanahan, you might not see Jimmy Garoppolo at that ceiling. But I don't know. Maybe I'm discrediting him. And, like, I certainly don't. I certainly wish him the best wherever he does end up after the 49ers. So we'll see. Brandon also says the O-line situation is a concern because regardless of how well people perform individually, so much is contingent on chemistry. I am glad you brought this up because I say this all the time when it comes to offensive line. Yes, this is so true. You can have great players individually, but until they really start gelling and working as a cohesive group, you're still going to see some mistakes. It's the offensive line is very big on getting timing right, and as you mentioned, chemistry, like being able to work together as a group, as a unit, is huge for the offensive line. And because there's a couple of potential new faces, certainly at least at center position, we might see some kinks that they got to work out in the first few weeks. We saw that even last season, right, where the offensive line to start the season did not look that great. The good thing is Trey Lance can mask some of those, mistakes really well. He can move out of the pocket really well, and he can buy himself time. He can evade sacks. Those are some of the things that, last season when we had Jimmy Garoppolo at quarterback, it like accentuated those offensive line issues. But with Trey Lance, I think there's an opportunity for him to potentially mask some of those, kinks while they're still trying to gel and get that chemistry right. So I'm glad you brought that up. That's definitely something that I expect. Okay, I only got a couple more minutes because I do have to head to my gate to board. But just a couple of other updates. Offensive tackle Mike Mcglinchey, Javon Kinlaw, and Azeez Al-Shaair have been cleared to practice. This is amazing news. I mean, it was all heading towards this direction, right, with Mcglinchey and Kinlaw, who have had, a long road to recovery for the both of them. But this is awesome news for the both of them. And Eric Armstead has actually been training with Javon Kinlaw for the last few weeks, and he has said that he looks good. So I'm really excited to see what Javon Kinlaw can do. I mean, this is a big year for him, and I have no doubt that he wants to prove everyone wrong. He's another guy I'm going to be looking at. And Mike Mcglinchey, of course, like, I think he's still going to be very much the same player that he was before, but that's something that we do have to keep an eye on during this training camp. So, but another thing that Kyle Shanahan did mention is they're going to try to ease those guys in slowly. You don't want to risk any type of re-injury or an injury to, another part of your body trying to do too much too soon, right? So Mcglinchey and Kinlaw are going to be brought, they're going to ramp back up slowly. So, and I think that's okay. That I prefer that, actually. Let's see. Last thing, I just wanted to say this. I liked this quote. Kyle Shanahan said, "It's as good as a roster as I've had. I love our team. I think our team is in a good spot to turn it over to a QB who hasn't played before." I just want to point that out before I end this live. Yes, I do agree. This is the best roster, I think, that Kyle Shanahan has had to work with. And I keep saying this, that Trey Lance has by far he's going into the best situation than any other young quarterback, first year, second year quarterback is going into, like, by far. So I think we have to take take that into account when we talk about expectations for Trey Lance, because yes, he is going to have some, rookie mistakes, right? But at the same time, the entire team around him is so stacked and so, I would say, like, it insulates Trey Lance and his ability to, grow on the job, So I think that's something, again, that, even I not forget, but, I don't take that into account enough. He's going into a great situation. I think we're gonna see a good Trey going into training camp. Oh, one last thing. So Kyle Shanahan was asked about the arm fatigue thing, and basically Kyle Shanahan said that Trey Lance, I guess he had some arm soreness in training camp last year. What'd I say? Last year. I said that. Like, yes, I never doubted that this arm fatigue thing was like real, but I always said, I think whoever the source is, I think they're talking about last year. So why are they talking about it now as if it matters now? That's what I never understood. Anyway, so we got confirmation that this arm fatigue thing came from last year. He dealt with it in one practice in training camp last year. As far as Kyle Shanahan is concerned, this arm fatigue shit is not a concern. So shut it. And another thing, the fact that Kyle Shanahan said this is Trey's team, we are moving forward with Trey Lance, does that not give you enough, proof that the 49ers are not concerned with Trey Lance and his arm and anything having to do with him? Makes you think. Anyway, I got to head to my gate, but I appreciate you guys, checking in. And like I said, subscribe, because I am going to be doing videos after every practice. It might not be like immediately after every practice, but it will be every day. So definitely subscribe. Follow me on Twitter. This is my Twitter handle, and 49K pod shit right here. So I appreciate you guys, and more content is on the way.